many of you go to bed with me at night? Yes. See, that's one of the reasons people feel they know me so well, is they sleep with me night after night after night. You know, Ken Carey, in his new book, The Third Millennium, said something that I thought was so beautiful. He said, "The warm rains of new thought fall gently on the soil of human consciousness." It's not as though this new consciousness-raising movement that's going on is a big storm or battering at people's doors. It's that it's like a gentle spring rain, and as it falls, it awakens the soil, and little blades of grass are raising everywhere on the planet. Look at us here, a sea of spring grass, awakening souls. Now, for some of you, I may say some revolutionary things today. And for others who've been on the pathway for some time, it may just reconfirm what you already know. But it's a glorious time that we're living in, and wonderful new things to learn, new understandings to have of our human consciousness. You know, deep at the center of our being, there is an infinite well of love, an infinite well of joy, an infinite well of peace, and a place within us where we are totally connected with infinite wisdom. These are the treasures that are within us, and they're only a breath away. So just for a moment, I'd like you to close your eyes and come with me. Let's go to that place within you where there is infinite love, where you can see life through unconditional love. And the more love you share and give, the more will return to you. So feel that love and let it grow and expand. Now come with me to that place where there is indescribable joy, bubbling, where you see the joy of life at all times. And let yourself feel that joy within you. And feel it grow and expand. And then come with me to that place within you where there is deep, serene peace, as quiet as a mountain lake, where the outside world cannot touch you. And feel that peace. And then come to that place within you where there is infinite wisdom, where all the answers to all the questions you will ever ask are already within you, where whatever it is you need to know will be revealed to you. These are the treasures within you. And as you open your eyes and come back to this room, keep remembering that you have these treasures. Do we use them once a day, once a week, once a month, once a year? Or do we totally forget that we have these within us? You see, when we use the treasures that are within us, we will get to drop a lot of the burdens that we carry. Burdens like anger and rage, and shame and guilt and prejudice, judgment. We will not need to create illnesses any longer. And I really think we can begin to reverse the aging process, because it is burdens that age us. So I'd like to ask you that once a day or twice a day, first thing in the morning and last thing at night, you stand in front of a mirror and look into your own eyes and say, I am filled with unconditional love and I share it today. I am filled with indescribable joy and I feel it today. And I am filled with deep, serene peace, and I experience it today. And I am connected with infinite wisdom. And I listen for those answers. I receive those answers today. Because this is the truth of your being. And people who declare the truth can literally change the world. I know it sounds simplistic, it's repetitive, and it is very powerful. We have so much within us that in times past we have not been taught to use. But what is happening now is we are learning the power of our minds and what this can do for us, and how it can literally transform our lives. I am not a healer. I do not heal anyone. I am a teacher who shares ideas with people. And like most good teachers, I too have had many, many dark nights of the soul. And many of us good teachers have come through very, very difficult childhoods. And we have learned to heal the past and release the past. And that is why we are able to help you do the same thing. Because we cannot create a glorious future or a wonderful today if we are in bondage to the past. Remember, forgiveness is healing our wounds of the past. In my own life, as far as I know, my life was very wonderful till I was around 18 months old. And then my parents divorced, and I went into a series of foster homes. My mother was an uneducated woman, and she needed to work as a domestic, as a servant in someone's house, and was not able to take me. So I went to a series of foster homes, and life was very difficult for me. And then when I was about 5 years old, she remarried because she wanted to make a home for me. But unfortunately, she married a very abusive man. So life became a different kind of hell at that point for both of us. And around the same time when I was 5, I was raped by a neighbor. And I remember being told that it was my fault and that I was shaming the family. But nevertheless, there was a court case, and the man did go to jail for 16 years. But I was very scared during my childhood that at some point this man would come out and punish me because I had put him in jail. And when I was in my early teens, then in addition to the physical abuse I was handling, there began to be sexual abuse from my stepfather. And when I was just about 15, I thought that was enough, and I left home and went out into the world. Only unfortunately, because of my upbringing and because of the fact that we were so poor and I had been abused so much, my self-worth and my self-esteem was literally under the stage, under the building. I had none. I had no self-worth, no self-esteem, and no social skills at all. And because I was so very, very starved for love in those days, If a young man would put his arms around me, I would go to bed with him. And so within a year, I had a little baby girl. And it amazes me sometimes when I look back now and think that I was able at that age, which is with as little as I knew, to find her a really good home with a really good family. And once she was 5 days old, I left her life and I have never seen her. When I look at that from my perspective of today and my understanding, I see that that little girl had to get to that family, and I was the vehicle to take her there. And because of my belief in my lack of self-worth, it was one more experience of shame that I needed to prove to myself how terrible I was. You know, we talk a lot about teenage pregnancy and how terrible it is. But what many people don't seem to realize is that no young woman, no young girl with self-worth and self-esteem would allow herself to get pregnant in the first place. We must fill our children with self-confidence and self-worth so that they are able to handle the challenges that life brings them. If you fill them with fear, they become powerless and they do not know how to heal. So I went on with my life, but because of my belief in myself, my beliefs about life, I attracted many abusive men and many menial jobs. And it took a long time before I could begin to turn that around because I had no self-worth. However, in time, things began to change. And I remember at one point, I married in my late 20s, I married a wonderful Englishman. He taught me social skills, and it was a very nice period of my life for about 14 years. And then one day he wanted a divorce. And of course, I was totally devastated. Because once again, I was saying, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I can never do it right. But I didn't realize at the time that life was really giving me an opportunity to move into a new phase. And while it was very difficult for me for some time, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And my teacher appeared in the form of a class. A friend said to me, I'm going to a lecture tonight. Would you like to come with me? And I went. And it literally began the turning point of my life. I was in my early 40s, and these people told me that if I was willing to change my thinking, I could change my life. And it was the most important thing that I think I have ever heard in my life. And while I didn't know what they were talking about and didn't really know what they meant, something inside of me said yes. And so I started to go to classes and read books and listen to tapes and make notes furiously and study and study. I, who had been a high school dropout and had never studied anything in my life, suddenly found a subject that absolutely fascinated me, the way my mind worked and the influence it had on my body and on my life. So I was studying away, and time passed, and my life started to change. I was doing affirmations and making some progress, and I started to get what I call the green lights in the parking places, when the little things in life start to work for you. And I thought I was pretty hot stuff. And I was in those days. I was doing well. And after a time, I got to a point where I began to teach what I knew and work with people on how to help them change their consciousness, to change their lives. And then one day, I was diagnosed with cancer. And just like anyone else who is diagnosed with cancer, I went into total panic. I was absolutely petrified. But I did have something on my side. I had tools to work with because I had worked with other people. And at that point, I knew that the mental equivalent for the disease called cancer is resentment. Deep, old resentment that literally eats away at the body over time. I remember calling my teacher and saying, "They say I have cancer." And he said to me, "Louise, you cannot have done all the work you've done on yourself to die of cancer. Now let's take a positive approach." And I remember clinging to that statement. And I began to do all the things I could figure out to do to handle this. I knew that if I would have the operation that they said I must have, and I didn't clear the mental pattern that was contributing to this disease, then they'd just keep cutting Louise until there was no more Louise left. You see, I don't believe that doctors don't get it all out. I think that we contribute to a condition in our bodies. We go have an operation, we come back, and we live life in exactly the same way. We don't change our thinking, we don't change our habits, we don't change our attitudes. And of course, the condition comes back. So I remember doing a lot of praying, a lot of affirmations, a lot of visualizations. I used to visualize several times a day cool, clear water flowing through my body, washing out the diseased cancer cells. I also went to a good nutritionist, and this person helped me detoxify my body, take the negative junk out of my body that I had so unknowingly eaten for so many years. And then I also went to a good therapist and detoxified my mind of the junk thoughts that I had been carrying around for so very long. This was a therapist who was able to help me release the angers and the resentment that had to have been within me from having carried that for so long. But one of the most important things that happened was that I learned about forgiveness from a personal point of view. I realized that my stepfather, who was so abusive, was once born a beautiful, innocent little baby, like all of us. So the story was how to figure out he got from that point of a baby, a beautiful baby, to the place where he would be so abusive. And I began to explore his childhood, and I realized that he was also a highly abused child. In fact, he had a twin brother who was so traumatized by the family experience that he went into an institution and never came out. Now, this was not to condone his behavior. It was not to say that what he did was okay, but it was to have some understanding on why and how it could have happened. And as I began to understand, I was able to begin the forgiveness process, which was not for him, but it was for me. It was time to heal my wounds. And in 6 months of absolutely intense concentration and doing everything I could think of the right thing to do, I remember, I know I had more to eat, but it seems that the only thing I can remember is sprouts and pureed asparagus. But I did all these things, and all of them combined. Within 6 months, I was able to get the medical profession to agree with what I already knew, that I no longer had cancer. And this was an extraordinarily powerful experience for me, because I began to realize that if we're willing to do the work, and many of us are not. You know, there are lots of people who would rather die than change their diet, and they do. But if we're really willing to do the work, almost anything can be healed. I have spoken since, or many people who have come through cancer have said to me, and I've heard this over and over again, that it was probably the most powerful experience of their life because it gave them the opportunity to change. And by changing, they not only healed their body, but they healed their lives. So this was a very big thing for me. And I went forth, I continued to go forth and to teach and share my experiences with others and help them learn how to release their own traumas. And today, I live a totally different life than I ever have before. My thinking is completely different. Abusive men do not know I exist. I'm no longer sending out those signals. And I rejoice in all that is going on in my life. I'm in my 69th year now, and I'm going to be 70 in October. And among other things, I'm becoming very interested in how we age and why. And I know that at the moment we're in the process of a lot of evolutionary changes. See, life comes in waves and learning experiences and evolutionary changes. And we're in a large period of evolution now. And I see my own work now moving in two directions. One, to work with women and really bring them up to where they belong. And the other is to work with elders. And seeing that we do not have to age in the way we used to age. See, it's all consciousness, it's all belief systems, it's society belief systems and our individual belief systems. But these are only thoughts and customs, and they can be changed. I know that many of you in this audience today have read some of my books or listened to the tapes or have read other books and tapes and have taken responsibility for your life and have made changes. See, first of all, I really want to help the women. I want to see that all women have self-love, self-worth, and self-esteem. You know, it's interesting. Up until the 1970s, the only ending you ever put with the word self was like selfish. And for centuries, if anyone wanted to do any work on themselves to improve their own life, they were told they were selfish. And therefore, they couldn't do it. But in the 70s, when we began to have a change in consciousness, we began to realize that we must all have self-love, self-worth, and self-esteem if we're really going to make a difference in our lives. And I think that when women have this, they will take a powerful place in society. You see, for centuries and centuries, women have been under the whims and the belief systems of men. And it is time that we start being powerful in our own way, in our own lives. I think inner self-worth is the most important thing that a woman can develop. It is absolutely vital to our well-being. Because when we have self-worth and self-esteem, we will no longer accept positions of abuse or an inferiority. We will not do that. Women have been brainwashed for centuries into certain kinds of behavior in order to be good women. And I know that there are many women that go around in deep resentment at the roles they feel forced to play. And many times, illness is their only way to get a rest. Some people would even die to get rest. And I think it's time we stop that. But you see, no matter where we came from, no matter what the family rules were, no matter how abused we were as children, we women can learn to love and cherish ourselves today. The same thing goes true for men, but I'm talking about women right now. You see, because when we learn to love and cherish who we are, then as mothers, as women and mothers, we will automatically pass this on to our daughters and our daughters' daughters and their granddaughters. And our daughters will no longer accept abuse, and our sons will have respect for everyone, including all the women in their lives. And as women have self-esteem and pass this on to their children, then their children and their children's children will not need to go through the diminishment and the self-abuse and the abuse that so many women go through now, and our mothers have gone through, and our grandmothers and their grandmothers. It is time to make changes. Now, I am not again to male bashing at all, putting men down, because I don't think that that's a good thing to do in any way. That if women blame men for their problems, then we're only going to be stuck, because a victim is always in a powerless position, and blaming others keeps us powerless, keeps us stuck. I have tremendous compassion for men, because men too are stuck in their roles, and they carry enormous burdens and a lot of problems. You know, when you think of it, little boys are taught not to cry and not to have feelings. And to me, this is a form of child abuse and torture, because we are meant to have feelings. We all have tears so that we can use them. And also, you know, if you really want to see a man cry, give him a very safe space to be, and let him talk about the relationship he has with his father. So many times you will hear the regret and the sadness for what might have been and wasn't, and all the things that could have been said, and the many times they wanted to hear "I love you" and didn't. So we all carry our burdens and our problems. I think we need to put together something called Every Woman's Successful Guide for Living, which will be a guideline for women on how to think about themselves and how to feel. And it will create a new paradigm for women. I think it's important that we strengthen the ties between women all over the planet and support and encourage each other in every way that we can. Because remember, if you discourage another person for anything, that discouragement will come back to you in some way. But if we support and encourage each other, then life in turn will support and encourage us. The other thing that I want to do is to work with elders. I almost see creating a movement called Elders of Excellence. I don't know how it is here, but in the States, we're a big youth culture, and we don't think a whole lot of our elders. But you see, all of us get older, so we're setting up what it's going to be like for ourselves when we get older. See, I think it's time that we begin to break the current stereotypes on aging. We need to totally revise our thoughts about aging, what society thinks and believes. Longevity has been changing for quite some time now. You know, in the Roman times, we only lived till our late teens. It was like we reproduced and we were on our way out. And even in 1900, the longevity, the life expectancy for people was 49 years. And in 1 century, we have moved it up to around 80. Well, if we can do that in 1 century, why can't we move it up to 125 or 150? It's all just a concept. Science is beginning to discover that there may be absolutely no limits to how long we can live. You know, they did a study in a university a few years ago in the States on middle age, and they discovered that at whatever age you believed middle age to be is the time when your body starts deteriorating. And if you believe that 40 is middle age, then you're going to start going down. If you believe 50 is middle age, that's when you'll go down. But what if you believed that 75 was middle age? What a difference that would make. See, the body has to follow the thoughts in the mind. It has to. The thoughts we think and the words we speak are incredibly powerful. So we're in the middle of enormous evolutionary changes right now. Women rising to power and elders living much, much longer lives. You see, we're all going to grow older, all of us. But we have choices on how we do this. The only people who won't grow older are the people who die. But if we grow older, do we want to age happily or do we want to age miserably? You know that expression that, oh, I'm too old to do this. Well, I think very soon that's going to be totally outmoded as we find that we can do all sorts of things we thought we couldn't do in the past. They did something in Pennsylvania just recently, again in a university. They took a group of 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds and started giving them weightlifting training. And they found that they could revitalize their bodies. You know, so much of the disability that goes with old age comes from years of not using our bodies, just sitting or shuffling across the room. And by having weightlifting exercises, their whole bodies were revitalized. And they noticed that the 90-year-olds, in 2 months, they could triple their strength. Well, you know, when you start to feel that you have power again, it does wonderful things for your mind. It's youthening on every level. And there's a group of women in Dallas, Texas. They call themselves the Steel Magnolias. And they're 65 to 85. And they're a karate group. And they go around and do karate demonstrations to show people what women of any age can do. And I tell you, if a mugger ever approached any of those women, they'd be in trouble, because those women know how to handle themselves, including the 85-year-old. And it was very interesting that the trainers said that the most difficult thing to teach the women were not the movements, but the voice. That when they made a movement and they had to go, ha! That was very difficult for the women to learn because they weren't used to using their voices with power. But once they got it, that was different. And I was reading, I think it was just a week ago, there's a 91-year-old pilot who has a small newspaper. It's in the West somewhere. And they produce a weekly edition. And every week he gets in his airplane with all the newspapers rolled up, and he goes to the outlying farms, and he has the papers next to him, and he picks them up, and he flings them. And he says, I can get it on the porch every time. You see, we are only limited if we think we are limited. There are always people doing things that we think we can't do. The brain does not wither and die unless we stop using it. We have to keep stimulating ourselves and keep moving and keep exercising. You know, I expect to live a very long time. I figure I've got at least 30 more years of work to do, and I want to be in good shape. It's the only way I'm going to do it. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I eat as well as I can. When I'm home, I grow my own food. I eat lots of vegetables. I want to take care of myself mentally and physically so that I can keep moving with agility to my very last day. You know, they've done a lot of research on elders, but unfortunately, it's all been on sick people. What's wrong with people? And I think it's time that we start doing some in-depth studies on older people who are happy, healthy, fulfilled, and really enjoying life. Because when we study these people, then we will learn how we can all do it. Unfortunately, pharmaceutical companies do not make money on healthy people. So somebody else is going to have to do the research. You see, soon we're going to have more older people than we've ever had before, and it's time that we reshape our thinking. We must reshape our thinking and everything concerned with that. We've got to sort of unplug ourselves from society's concept of aging, the current concepts. We must, because I think that we can make the second half of our life even more wonderful than the first. But we must create a conscious ideal of what this is going to be so that we can aim for it. You see, too many people equate age with poverty and sickness and loneliness and being frail. And if we look around us and see a lot of that, that is because this is what we have created by our past belief thinking. Remember, today, you are always living and experiencing what you believed yesterday and last week and last month. But what you are choosing to believe and think today will create tomorrow and next month and next year and your future. So we can always make our changes now. But I agree, it is not, there's no point in living a long time until we can really accept and believe that we are greatly responsible for our health and our dis-ease. You know, neuropeptides work equally for everyone. Neuropeptides are the chemical messengers that travel throughout our body whenever we think a thought or speak something, whenever we talk or think. And if we have negative thoughts, if we are bitter, if we are angry, then the chemicals that are produced in our brain depress our immune systems. But if when we think thoughts, we are loving and optimistic and open and have faith in life and in other people and in ourselves, then the chemicals that are produced at that time strengthen our immune system. It's as simple as that. Whatever we think is constantly having effect on our bodies and our experiences. You know, for a long time, I really didn't understand the concept of we are all created equal. Because that seems so strange. You know, there are tall people, short people, rich people, poor people. There are attractive people, unattractive people. There are stupid people. There are brilliant people. What do you mean we're all created equal? And then I finally got it. What that means is, no matter who we are, the same thoughts affect us in the same ways. Anger is as toxic to a Jewish body as it is to a Christian body, to a Spanish body or a Chinese body, to a homosexual body or a heterosexual body. Anger is a toxic emotion. We are all created equal. If we think in negative thinking, if that's our consistent way of living, we are guaranteed to develop dis-ease. If we have an illness and we will not let go of our past, if we will not forgive, if we will not heal our emotional wounds, we will not heal our bodies. And that is as true in every country, with both sexes, with everyone. We are all one, and we are all created equally. All this stuff about how we look and how much money we have, that is the outer illusion. But the internal process is exactly the same for all of us. All of us. Neuropeptides work equally. So next time you're letting yourself go into a pit of rage, try to stop yourself and say, no, wait a minute. I'm depressing my immune system. Is this what I want to do? Conscious living is what we're aiming for. Conscious living. See, we're all setting up our later years. All of us. I don't care whether you're 14 or 40 or 60 or whatever. You're setting up your later years. And two questions that I think are vital for all of us to ask ourselves is, one, how do you want to age? How do you want to age? How do you see yourself when you're 75? What do you see? What kind of a person? Alive and vital? Or in a wheelchair? And the next question is, how do you want to die? How do you want to die? Do you want to die in a hospital bed with tons of tubes in you? Or do you want to, when it's your time to go, have a little party and say goodbye to all your friends and then go to bed and go to sleep? Wouldn't that be a better way? You see, we're constantly creating our future, and we need to think that far ahead, because what we're doing today has a lot to do with how that will be. How will it be when we're older? I'd like to see us all be elders of excellence, and each one of us using those treasures within us that I talked about at the very beginning. And you see, if you really believe, if you can trust life, you have faith in life, if you know you're filled with unconditional love, if you know you're filled with joy, if you know that within you is so much peace that nothing can ever hurt you, and if you know that all the answers to any question you ask is there, that whatever you need to know is revealed to you, then what difference does it make what our future is? It's going to be good. And we can be flexible and flowing and trust life. Takes a while to get to that point, though theoretically we could do it in an instant. It depends how much we're willing to let go of tribal concepts and all those limitations we were raised with. You know, I'm a very, very simple lady with a simple, simple message. Love yourself and heal your life. Forgive the past, move on, and live in today. You cannot have a wonderful today if you're holding on to the misery of the past, or even the good of the past, or you're terrified of the future. You know, the people that talk about the good old days and how wonderful it was and it isn't good now, remember, you created both realities. And if you created good days at one point in your life, you can do it again, even if today is not that good. Get a hold of your thinking. Start to do conscious living, conscious. You know, life is simple if we let it be, but we make it so complicated. But if we really just understand that what we think is what we get, what you believe is what will show up in your life. But your thinking, that's all changeable. It can move. See, what is the reality that we create for ourselves? I love these two images. Do we live in a dungeon of limitation, or do we live in a palace of possibilities? I like to feel that where I am is the totality of possibilities of all good. Not just yes or no or this or that. You know, we live and think in limited human mind thinking. It has to be this way or that way, or if it can't work this way, how can it happen? Well, the universe is incredibly smarter than we are and has the totality of possibilities to supply us with everything we desire, as long as we can believe that we deserve it. See, when we change our thinking, we change our lives because we drop our limitations. Limitations are what it's all about. And we've had some experiences that show us that we can drop limitations. You know, how many people here have heard of fire walking? Walking on hot coals, the classes? Some? Well, a few, all right. Okay, has anybody here actually done it? Okay, one person back there. We all know that it is totally impossible to walk on hot coals with your bare feet and not get burned. Now, we know that. And yet, there are people out there now teaching classes on how to do it and getting 20 and 30 people to do it in an evening. Now, if you have a dis-ease like cancer and you attend a fire walk, as they call them, and you can walk on hot coals without getting burned, wouldn't that blow your mind totally? In that case, surely you could drop a small thing like cancer. We are in the process of moving beyond limitations. We all want to find that place within us where the bumblebee lives. I don't know if you have them here, but in the States we have something called a bumblebee, and it's a very fat little bee, and it has little short wings. And science says that that bee cannot fly because its body is too big for its wings. Well, the bumblebee doesn't know this, so the bumblebee flies everywhere. The limitation is not in the bumblebee, the limitation is in science's interpretation. And we all have that place within us where we can do things that we did not know we could do. But we have to give ourselves a chance. You know, I like to think of our thoughts like drops of water. One thought does not mean very much. It's like one drop of water on this stage. But I'm told that we think about 60,000 thoughts a day. And unfortunately, most of them are the thoughts we had yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. But you know, if you think of these thoughts keep dropping and dropping, 60,000 a day, pretty soon you can have a little puddle, a little pond, a small lake, almost an ocean. And if our thinking is negative, we can drown in a sea of negativity, or we can float on the ocean of life. It is up to us totally. I think I have taught myself to think primarily in positive affirmations. And yes, it is a little bit of work to change our thinking, to be conscious of it, to be aware of what we think and what we believe. But once we can do that, it makes a tremendous difference. Now, you know, we talk about affirmations a lot, which are positive statements. But what people don't realize is that every thought we think and every word we speak is an affirmation. You've been doing affirmations all your life, but you've been doing them unconsciously, and a lot of them have been very negative. So we need to look at what is it we really believe so we can make the changes. And that's why I say to people, take a large piece of paper and write on the top of it what I believe about men. And then take another piece, what I believe about women. Another piece, what I believe about children. What I believe about life, work, finances, marriage, relationships, money, health, aging, the church, my family. And just start writing things down. Whatever comes to your head, no matter how foolish it is, write it down, write it down. And it may take you almost a week of going back to these papers to finish them. But when you see them and start looking at the list of what you believe, you will be amazed. And some things that come up, you'll say, oh, I couldn't believe that. But if it comes up, there is a part of you somewhere in there that does believe that. So then you want to look at your lists for all the negative things that you believe. And either make a decision to eliminate them totally, to let them go. You know, ask yourself, is this the belief I want to have run my life? And then turn those negative things into positive affirmations. Once you see what you believe, you'll know the things that support you and are very good and powerful for you, and you will also see the things that are undermining you, the beliefs that are keeping you from having what you say you want. So many of us live in the limitations of our past consciousness, the limitations of our parents' belief systems, the limitations of the schools, the teachers at school, limitations of the church. There are so many things that we have in there. And I like to use as an affirmation, I go beyond the limitations of my parents or whatever. I go beyond that now. Because, you know, even if you had the best parents in the world, they had limitations. And you want to create the most powerful life you can possibly create for yourself. We want to sort of unplug our circuits. It's like there's parts of it that have almost like tubes connected to the past, to the bondage of the past. And we want to bring those back in, call our spirits back, call our power back. Because as long as we are in bondage to the past, we cannot make changes in the future. I think it's very important that we use the tools that we have learned. If you read a book, you go to a class, listen to a lecture, have a tape, use that stuff. Don't just read it and say, oh, isn't that a nice book, and then go on in the same old way. If you can walk out of here today with one sentence that I have said that you really practice and work with, you will change your life for the better. But we must use the tools that we have learned. We want to trust the process of life. You know, just as your body is always aiming for absolute optimum health at all times, no matter what we do to it, so it is with life. Life is here for us if we trust it and have faith and power in the process of life. I like to think of the process of life as here for me. And it has taken me time to learn that. And I still have problems. Everybody has problems. I have learned to deal with them in a different way. And I'd like to share this with you. I would like to get as many people dealing with their problems in this way rather than the old ways. When a problem comes up for me, as quickly as I can get a hold of my mind, I say, all is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe. And I will repeat this over and over and over again. All is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. And out of this situation, only good will come. And I say it till I clear the air for myself, so that I know the truth of this situation. And that gives the universe a chance to find the solution. And I have seen it work miracles. It gets you through things. The phone can ring and there can be a solution. Something will happen because you have taken your mind off the problem and you have declared the truth for yourself. It is a very powerful exercise. I travel the world a lot, and I am so pleased to see that everywhere I go, there are audiences like this. And it's not just audiences for me, it's audiences of people that are eager to take control of their life. And it's happening all over the planet. I get letters from everywhere. We are searching for new answers. You know, the astrologers would say that in the Piscean age, we looked outside of ourselves for a savior. We'd say, save me, save me, save me. But the Aquarian age, which we are beginning to enter now, we are turning within to find the savior within. We are learning that we are co-creators with the universe. It's not just that we're little helpless victims and life is buffeting us about, but we are co-creators. We have a lot to do with our experiences and our health. And I see another phenomena that is really wonderful. It's what I call the self-help groups that are getting together. It's becoming a new social norm. People getting together with the similar problems, looking for solutions. Doesn't do any good to get together with a problem if all you do is sit there and play Ain't It Awful? Oh, isn't this terrible? But if you're looking for solutions, everybody in that group can improve the quality of their life. So we look at our beliefs, we make our lists, we see what barriers we have put up to stop us from living the full and rich life that we could. This is not to make us wrong, but we must see what it is we believe before we can make the changes. And then we develop some guidelines for living. And one of the first and most important one is to stop all criticism. This is absolutely vital. Criticism never heals anything. It doesn't heal anything out there. It doesn't heal anything in here. We need to love and accept ourselves. When you're scolded, it's hard to make changes. When you're loved, it's easy to make changes. And besides, the things that we have been criticizing ourselves for years, we're still criticizing ourselves for. It's not the way to help. And the things we criticize other people for are reflections of things we don't like about ourselves. The next thing is don't scare yourself. How many times have you absolutely terrorized yourself with your own thoughts? Don't do that. It's a very unloving thing to do. Let your thoughts be your best friends. Let your thoughts support you in every way possible. Be committed to the relationship you have with yourself. You have been with yourself since the moment you were born, and you will be with yourself until you leave the planet. Don't scold yourself. You want to wake up in the morning and be thrilled to find that you're there. You know, we're so wonderful with other people, and we're so devoted to relationships with other people. But we toss ourselves away and get around to ourselves now and then. No, be committed to yourself. Treat yourself as though you are loved, as though you are someone who is very loved by you. I always suggest that people go to the mirror first thing in the morning and look at the mirror and say, I love you. What can I do today to make you happy? It's a great way to start your day. You know, how many people have somebody that says that to them? I love you, and how can I make you happy today? Well, don't wait for somebody else. Do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. Take care of your body. We want to live a long time. We want to be in great shape. So take loving care of your body. And educate yourself. We all need to do that. We think, oh, I can't do this or that, but we're bright, and there's so much out there for us now. There's books and tapes and classes and lectures and videos. It's all out there. There's so much we can learn. I know I'm going to be learning something new every single day as long as I'm on this planet. As long as I'm on this planet. I will never know it all, but I want to know more and more. One of the things I say in the morning when I wake up is that I want to have more understanding today than I had before. I want to deepen my understanding. And I think it's vital that we all build a financial future for ourselves, everyone. And it doesn't matter where you start. It's vital that women have money of their own. You know, and affirmations are very important here. Something that I operate on. Remember, I came from the lowest of poverty, and I don't live that way now. But what the affirmations that I use is, one, my income is constantly increasing, and I prosper wherever I turn. My income is constantly increasing, and I prosper wherever I turn. Remember, you are creating your personal laws. You want to fulfill your creative side, your positive creative side. Now, not everybody can build a building, design a building, or be an artist or a singer or something like that. Some of us, our creative side is very simple. But it is important that we fulfill our creative side in a positive way, because if we don't, we will fulfill it in a negative way. That creativity must be expressed, and you will express it in a negative way by your thinking. Some of you, I know I used to get very creative with my negative thinking. Vengeance and all those wonderful things that only come back to us and create problems. So allow the positive creative side of yourself to come out. Make joy and happiness the very center of your world. You know, it's not out there, it's in here. And we can find joy and happiness in every area of our life if we look for it. Life is very funny, really. It's very funny. I think it's vital that we develop a strong spiritual connection with life. And sometimes we do that through religion, and sometimes we do that as a solitary journey of going within and meditating and allowing answers to come through us. But it is vital. I'm not a religious person, but I am a deeply spiritual person, and I feel very, very connected with all of life. I think it is vital that we have integrity, that we can keep our word, that if we promise somebody something, we honor it and follow through. If you promise yourself something, honor it and follow through. We must have self-respect. And you cannot have self-respect if you break your promises to yourself. I never make a promise anymore that I know I will not, that I do not want to keep, because when I make a promise, I keep it. So many of us, promise ourselves things and then we fall through on them. And if you can't honor and respect yourself, if you can't trust yourself, you will never trust life. So we need to develop that. And then the other thing is to live from a center of gratitude. It makes a tremendous difference in life. When I awaken in the morning, before I even open my eyes, I thank the bed for a good night's sleep and for me keeping me so comfortable all night. And then I thank life for myself, that I'm here, that I have chosen to live another day, that I get to spend another day with me. I'm grateful for my family and for my friends, for my home, for my animals. I have 4 wonderful dogs. For the vegetables that I grow, for the work that I do, for the experiences I will have that day, for the health of my body. And I go on and on and on. And this is before I open my eyes, so that when I begin my day, it is coming from a place of gratitude. And life loves a grateful person. And you get much more to be grateful about. Gratitude brings you the goodies. And when I say the goodies, I don't mean just things. I mean the people and the places and the experiences that mean so much in life. Be thankful for all that we have. So that stop all criticism. Don't scare yourself. Be committed to the relationship you have with yourself. Treat yourself as though you are loved. Take care of your body. Educate yourself. Keep learning. Build a financial future for yourself. Can't expect them to take care of us. Fulfill your creative side. Make joy and happiness the center of your world. And develop a strong spiritual connection with life. Have integrity. Keep your word. Respect yourself. And live from a center of gratitude. I have a few personal laws that I live by. I've made them laws for me, and they work for me. One is I am always safe. I know that I am divinely protected. This enables me to move freely in the world because I am safe. I also know that everything I need to know is revealed to me. It always is. It's amazing how I can hear things, but the information I need to know comes to me. And everything I need comes to me in the perfect time-space sequence. I will do an affirmation for something that I think I want, and then I just let it go. I feel like it's out in the cosmic kitchen. You put your order in. You go to a restaurant, and you decide what you want to eat, and you put your order in the kitchen. And then you don't run into the kitchen to see how it's being done. You assume that they are taking care of it. So you go about your business, you drink your glass of wine, you have your cup of coffee, you eat some bread, whatever it is, as you wait for your food to come out. You know it's happening. And it's the same thing when you do an affirmation for something. You don't have to keep figuring out how it's going to happen. It's done. It will come in the perfect time-space sequence. I also know that life is a joy and filled with love. That every one of the wonderful things about this work that I do is almost everywhere I go, I am greeted with tremendous love. And that's a very nice thing. I also know that I am vibrantly healthy. I know that. I will never again go through the sort of dis-ease I've gone through before, because I am in a totally different space. I know I prosper wherever I turn. I know that I am willing to grow and to change. I don't feel I know it all. I'm willing to see a dark corner of myself as they pop up now and then, and I go, oh, well, all right, that's one to change. That's another one to change. And I also know that all is well in my world. Our consciousness creates our experiences. Learning to love ourselves is a challenge we all go through. As little babies, we were born loving ourselves. But then we go through many, many experiences so that we forget that. We think, oh, well, maybe that's not true. And some of us even learn to hate ourselves. But one of our spiritual challenges is to learn to love who we are, in spite of what has happened or in spite of what they say. See, all of us go through the challenges of learning to forgive ourselves and forgive others and to love ourselves. It is part of our spiritual growth. Our negative thoughts come from fear. So we're always in this position of, are we coming from fear or faith? Do you trust life, or are you coming from a fear space? Are you coming from scarcity or abundance? It's our choice. It's our choice. Life is wonderful. We can make it so. Grazie. I have a large stack of questions here. I will get to as many of them as I can. I probably can't get to all of them. But remember, the questions that we are asking are part of a lifetime of study. We get the answer to one question, and there will always be another and another. Somebody has asked me, if I want to make a change in life, how long will it take? Well, I could answer that by saying, how long is a piece of string? It will take as long as it takes for you to make your changes. And I cannot possibly tell you how long that will be. It will depend on how consistent you want to be with your work and how much you believe. And then somebody else said, what do I do when I feel ridiculous doing affirmations? Well, that's a good time to pull out your sense of humor, isn't it? See, life is very funny, and we really can laugh at ourselves. Now, I'm wondering, are you saying you feel ridiculous when you say them out loud, when you say them in front of a mirror, or just making a positive statement? Why would you make it feel ridiculous if you're making a positive statement? It would help me to get free of jealousy. Jealousy comes from a fear of abandonment. There's something within you that feels that you will be abandoned. And part of it is probably because you're not there for yourself. If you could really trust yourself, every time you made a promise to yourself, if you would honor it and follow it through, if you would always be there for yourself and can learn to trust yourself, then you will trust other people. I think you were abandoned probably early on or had an abandonment experience, and ever since then you believe there's not enough for you. So look at this problem as though it was out there and not in here. And the next time feelings of jealousy come up, say to yourself, I will not abandon you. I am here for you. I will always love you. And learn to trust yourself. And as you do, you will trust others. Okay. When you have a partner that is negative, what must you do to change his attitude or her attitude? It could be either way. Absolutely nothing. It is not our place to change other people. The only person that you can possibly change is yourself. However, if you work on changing yourself, the other person will have to make changes. But you never work to change somebody else. See, this is something we all want. We all want everything out there to change so that our life will be perfect. But if we want our life to be perfect, we have to make the changes. One of the questions you might ask yourself is, what is it within me that has attracted a negative partner? What are the negative parts of yourself? Begin to dissolve them. And as you do, the other person will change. It's the same thing with this question. How can I help my husband who is an alcoholic? Well, if you have Alcoholics Anonymous here, I would suggest that you go to a meeting. You go to a meeting and learn about the pain and suffering that they go through, so that you can have some understanding about how to handle yourself. You are not responsible for a partner who drinks. You are only responsible for your own life. The person is not doing it to punish you, but to fight his own pain. And when your husband or whoever the partner is who is an alcoholic is ready, he will make the changes. But until he is ready, there is nothing you can do except to work on yourself. My 24-year-old daughter has died in an accident. What do you think of the death of young people? I think it is my belief that we come to this planet many times. We live many lives. We probably experience everything over a period of time. We're male, we're female, we're every color that there could possibly be. We're homosexual, we're heterosexual. And each time we have a life, we die in a different manner and at a different time. There is no decreed time for how long we should live. Some people come in, they don't even make it out of the birth canal alive. Some people come in and are here for a few days and die a crib death or something like that. Sometimes we die of childhood illnesses. Sometimes we die in accidents. Sometimes we die of very old age. I think each experience is perfect for our soul growth. The human mind may not understand it, but I think each one of us on a soul level chooses our time to go and how we go. And that's not always an easy concept to understand. And I know that if your daughter has died, you are going through a tremendous grieving process. And this is normal and natural. And while you will have sorrow in your heart forever, do not destroy your own life because of this. The first year after someone dies is the hardest for those people that are left, because you have to go through all the seasons and all the holidays and all the different experiences that you had with that person through the year. And after a year of grieving, life gives you the opportunity to lessen the pain. Now you have the option of holding on to the pain forever, or you can hold on to beautiful, loving memories of that person. I don't know why she went at that time. I do know it was the right time for her this time. You say that one has to connect with life. When I speak of life, do I refer to God? I can. When I say life, when I say the universe, I talk about the power that created this all, the power that is in charge, the power that many people call God. Whatever word is comfortable to you. I do not see God as an old man sitting on a cloud making notes of my sins. I do not have that image. I have an image of a power that moves the sun and the stars and that beats my heart, that knows how to make a flower grow, that is always doing its best to make life wonderful in spite of the choices that we make. I feel very strongly that there is a strong spiritual connection between all of us and the power that created us. What can we do to get rid of anger? Well, first of all, let's not talk about getting rid of it, because it's very hard to get rid of things. It is much easier to dissolve things when you can understand them. Anger is a reaction that either other people have done something wrong or they are doing something wrong. If it is of the past, for goodness sakes, let yourself go. Remember, every experience we have in life, we have been a co-creator for it. And every person that is in our life is a mirror of a belief system of ourselves. So when we look at an incident that is wrong, that we are angry about, a good question to ask ourselves is, what is my part in this? Again, not to make ourselves wrong, but to begin to understand the process of how life works. And yes, I, like anybody else, I get angry, but I hold it a very short period now. It does not last the way it used to. It comes up and it goes down. And especially if I get into that all is well and everything that's happening is for my highest good, and out of this experience only good will come, then you can move through it very quickly. Anger is just one of many emotions. See, the negative state is not a place to stay all your life. Stresses are supposed to be like fleeting conditions. They move through unless we hold on to them. We grab them and we hang on, and we won't let them go. So if you want to let go of anger, to dissolve it, and you could even use that image of it like being a black cloud, and you're allowing the sunshine to move through, and just dissolve that cloud. We can choose to let it go. You could say as an affirmation, I'm willing to release the need to be angry. And if you keep saying that, it will become true for you. It's a toughie, though, because we like to be righteous. See, a lot of us sit in what I call a prison of self-righteous resentment. They are wrong, and I am right. But a prison is a prison. And if we box ourselves into an attitude, then we don't grow. Okay. Why, when following your advice, I still continue to eat and get fat? Probably tastes good. You have some very good food here. Weight. excess weight is very often, it's either a habit that we just have, or it's a need for protection. We feel protected when we're a little bigger. And, you know, there was a time in my life when I used to help people work with all sorts of problems. And we would fix this sort of thing and fix this sort of thing and fix this sort of thing. And then one day I discovered that if I could teach people to love themselves, there was very little we had to fix. Its life took care of that automatically. So the main thing I work on with people today is to teach them to love themselves and to find what is in the way. A very powerful but simple exercise is to stand in front of a mirror and look in your own eyes and just say, I love you. I really, really love you. And you notice what the thoughts are that come up. Can you do that and smile at yourself and feel good about doing it? Or is it something, do all sorts of uncomfortable feelings come up? What comes up? What are the thoughts that move through your mind? You see, I like to do affirmations in front of a mirror because you move through your blocks very quickly. You know right away what it is that you're thinking. And then you can turn that into a positive affirmation. I would say that there's a part of you that feels very unsafe, and food comforts you and makes you feel protected. Love who you are and love yourself as you are. I would suggest you stand naked in front of a mirror and say, I love you. I really, really love you. Okay, some guidelines to achieving success in business. All right. I have very strong ideas in business. I think if you go into business to make money, you're doomed. If that's all you're going into business for, is to make money, you'll have struggle. To me, where I come from in business, and I have a very successful business now, a publishing firm, my thought is always, how can I help the people? What can I do to help? And I like to think of every business transaction that takes place as though we bless and prosper each other. And if you bless your customers with love, if you know that you have a service that other people want and you're really helping people, then I think you will automatically succeed. But if you just go into business to see how much money you can make, it will be a struggle. In fact, the more we can come from that space in our heart of how can we help people, the better it is. I know that we say this to our authors when authors bring a book proposal to us. It's always, well, all right, now what can we do with this book to really, really help people? I think affirmations are important in business. You know that you have a product or a service that people want. You bless your customers with love. You visualize people coming to your place of business or responding to your business if it's mail order, whatever it is. And I always like to bless the building with love, bless all the equipment in the building, whether it's desks or offices or counters in a store or mechanical equipment in a factory, whatever it is, you put love into it. And bless each and every employee with love and each and every customer. And begin your day that way with a gratitude. That, to me, is how to succeed in business. And it's worked wonders for me. Okay. Okay, here's two questions that are very close together. If we want, we can change our life. What happens with homosexuality? The other question is, please, could you let us know your opinion about homosexuality or recommend a book about it? I think it is time that we welcome our homosexual brothers and sisters. What we have been doing to them for a long time is tribal outcasting of the very worst kind. There is no way that we can practice unconditional love except for that group over there. It doesn't work that way. Our hearts are open and accepting, or they're closed and shut down. There's no two ways about it. Now, I have noticed that science is finally getting around to the point where they have discovered that there is actually a different gene in homosexuals. There is something that there's different. It is not a chosen lifestyle. It is something that people are born with. And I do not believe that God makes mistakes, especially on the number that we have. This is my opinion. I cannot recommend a book on it because I don't know. I have done a great deal of work with homosexuals. Many of you know I worked with people with AIDS for 6.5 years in the trenches in the very early days when people were giving me death threats because I was so wicked as to say that I don't believe that people with AIDS have to die. Not everybody. I have never once worked with a homosexual person on a therapeutic level where the person did not know before they were 5 years old that they were homosexual. This is not something that one chooses later on in life. I think we have a tremendous amount of judgment on it. It's part of the things that we need to go beyond, if you choose to do so. I know many people do not agree with my opinions, but this is what I feel and what I believe. Okay, how to forgive. I seem to champion unpopular causes, but you know, I'm almost 70. What are you going to do to me? Let's go to something that's important now. How to forgive, and how do I know when I have forgiven? Forgiving is letting go of your charge on something. Forgiveness does not mean saying it's okay what they did, because sometimes what they did is pretty awful. The deed is awful. But you forgive the experience within yourself. You let it go. You heal your wound. When you are in resentment, when you are in bitterness, when you are in revenge, you have a tremendous wound in you. It comes from the past, and you won't let it go. And you are the one that needs healing. Now, when you have forgiven, you will no longer have a charge on it. And if you can, you will get to the point where you may even thank that person or that group or whatever it is, because it is part of your soul growth. Everything that happens is part of our soul growth. And it's a human mind concept that is not easy to accept. I find that mirror work is very powerful for forgiveness. To sit in front of the mirror and talk to the person that you want to forgive. And have a box of tissues next to you because there could be a lot of tears. Forgiveness is about freeing ourselves. And remember, for loving ourselves and forgiveness are two of the big spiritual challenges that we have on our earth pathway. See, I think that when we leave the planet, The only thing we take with us is our capacity to love. We certainly don't take our automobiles or our money or anything else. We take our capacity to love. And that determines a lot about what our next lifetime is like, in my opinion. Okay, what can you say about jaw problems? Well, jaws are anger, clenching, holding on, grinding in our sleep, tension. You know, fear can affect every single part of the body. It sort of puts us on alert, and we're like this. But love can relax the entire body. If you have jaw problems, you're probably having a lot of difficulty sleeping at night. And before you go to sleep at night, I would say, I love you and I forgive you. I love you and I forgive you. And I sleep in peace. And if you do that every night, you will start to shift that pattern. I release the anger. I let it go. Again, I think gratitude helps us a great deal on releasing these patterns. Who and what is God? Well, I said that before. In my opinion, it's a power and a force. Now, there are many, many different opinions about who and what God is. And they're all right for everybody, but I think it's a force. What happens after we're dead? Well, I'm not an authority. However, my belief is that we do live many, many lifetimes. And I've always had an image, or I've had an image for a long time, of the end of my life is like, I've been in a play, I've been in the stage, and I leave the stage, the curtain goes down, I go into the dressing room, I take the makeup off, I take the costume off, and I walk to the stage door absolutely naked. And I'm greeted on the other side by lots of love, by a new director and a new script, and go into rehearsal for a new play. That's an image I've had. I'm handed a new costume. I think that we have our schooling, our experiences, and when we leave the planet, first of all, we are greeted by enormous amounts of love, more than we usually experience here. And then we go to sort of a holding place for a bit, where we examine what's happened before and what this lifetime was like. And then we make choices about the next lifetime. What is the learning experience I will need this time? What is next? And I feel we really choose the lifetimes. And while some of the choices may not make sense on a human mind level, on a soul level, it might make a great deal of sense. We might choose to come in as a cripple because there is an experience there that we need. We could choose to come in as many different things. Will we love ourselves in spite of whatever that experience is? Will we fulfill our soul growth? This is my opinion. Will we see our loved ones after, if they're around? You see, they may come back before you leave. Because if we're constantly cycling and recycling, I don't know. Well, I was with so many people that died of AIDS. And when I'd see a baby born, I'd often say, is that you, Philip? You know, hi, David, is that you? Have you come back already? Have you come back to help heal the planet? So I know that we're greeted with love. If you read any of the literature about it, There's quite a bit of after-death experiences now and near-death experiences, and they all talk about tremendous love. And perhaps they're waiting, perhaps they're already here. Perhaps your daughter was your grandfather. Who knows? What do I think about reincarnation? I just said that. Why does my son behave so badly and I live through it? I don't know what troubles your son. I don't know. I don't know how much of your stuff he's acting out. This is not to say it's our fault, but children are always reacting to the emotional atmosphere of the home and the conditions that they were raised in, and the atmosphere between the parents. You see, when we grow up, we learn what love is all about by the way our parents treat us and by the way our parents treat each other. I also know that at this point in time and space, there are a great many temptations out there for young people. And I think it's part of our evolutionary growth. I don't know what the answer is with your son, but I do know that the most important work you can do is to learn to love yourself. Not to suffer, not to be in anguish, not to be in pain, but to love yourself and set an example for this son and any other children you may have. The best thing we can do for our children is to love who we are, because we show them what it can be like. What importance has the Course in Miracles had in your life? Well, I think it's a wonderful book. I think the Course in Miracles are extraordinary teachings. They've created a lot of good in this world. I used to study them. I don't now, but I have great respect for the Course in Miracles. I remember the first time I read the Course in Miracles, and they said that all dis-ease comes from a state of non-forgiveness. And I thought, yes, I think that's right. Because dis-ease does come from the stuff we hold on to from the past. Sadness and sorrow and regret and hurt can have to do with illnesses that are from the waist up. And anger and rage and resentment will have to do with diseases that are from the waist down. Course in Miracles is an excellent study group. I don't know whether you have that here, but we have quite a few groups that study it in the States. And you get together with a group of people and, you talk about it, you try to understand it. They're good people. Okay, how do I know when I'm evolving spiritually? Well, you don't ask that question. You know you're evolving spiritually when your life starts to work better, when things begin to fall into place. Then you're in connection. You see, I think it's very important that we have body, mind, and spirit. It's almost like a triangle, and we need to have them in balance. When your body, when your mind, and your spirit are totally balanced, then your life works. See, evolving spiritually is not just your religious connection. It's everything, because your life is spiritual. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience occasionally. We are spiritual beings who have chosen to have a human experience. And it's a very different way of looking at life. Just love yourself no matter what. You are evolving spiritually. We all are. Okay. Give me an answer for a terminal patient. This sounds like it might be a nurse or somebody with a physical pain who asks, what did I do to have all this? Am I so bad? It always saddens me when I hear people becoming guilty over illness, because that is not a healing act. I don't know why this person has particular illnesses that they have. I do know that people who have a lot of pain often are harboring a great deal of guilt. Remember, guilt seeks punishment, and punishment creates pain. So I don't know what this person is holding on to from the past, what unresolved family crises there are, what relationship things, what experiences that they're holding on to that is co-creating a difficult illness. But the person is not bad, the person is not wrong. They haven't done anything wrong. And again, the best thing to help that sort of a situation is to really begin to love who you are in the kindest, most wonderful way. And for the person who is dealing with this, or anybody who's dealing with someone who's going through a difficult illness, love them, be kind to them, help them to love themselves. We all leave the planet in our own way at our own time. And even though this patient may be considered terminal, life works in mysterious ways, and healings take place all the time. Miracles are continuously happening. Okay, do you think that all our negative thoughts come from other lives? No. I think that past life karma is interesting. It's interesting to look into a past life, but I think we use it as a cop-out. I think too many people think that, oh, this came from another lifetime, so it has nothing, I can't do anything about it this lifetime. To me, that's just a cop-out. That doesn't answer anything. Some of it may, but it doesn't matter whether it came from last week or when you were 12 or 5 or 2 lifetimes ago. This is where we let it go. This is where we release things. This is where we start anew and start fresh. So don't get too wrapped up in the other lifetime stuff. Okay, then we really answered this more or less before. So we wouldn't know how to deal with the death of someone young, someone who wasn't supposed to die. Well, you see, that's a human judgment. If the person has died, that person was supposed to die. That was part of the soul commitment, the soul decision. And as I said before, you love them, hold them in tenderness, do your grieving, and then move on. Because your life is not meant to stay in a constant state of grief over one person, though it can always be in your heart. Death is not an easy thing. It's part of the challenge of loving ourselves and forgiving. I have been doing affirmations up and down. I think that means a lot. But I do not write them. My life is sad, actually. How is this possible? Where did all my work go? Well, I don't know. I don't know what the beliefs are inside of you. This is why I said earlier, make lists. Make lists of what you believe about everything. Everything you can think of, so that you can see what's in your way. You may be doing affirmations for prosperity or something like that, or for health. But there's a part of you that doesn't believe it. You may come from a family that has always been sick. So there's a part of you that believes that you deserve to be sick. Or there may be a part of you believes that you deserve to die at the same age your mother died. But it doesn't have to be the truth of you. You may be doing affirmations for prosperity, but when you grew up, all you saw was fear about money, and people had terrible things to say about money. And so there's a part of you that believes that. It may be some part of you that doesn't feel you deserve it. So you're saying the affirmations, but you're not believing it. That's why I say do the affirmations in front of a mirror, because you'll immediately see what the thoughts are behind it. See, your work is there, the affirmations are there, but there's something within you that doesn't believe it. So what is that belief? And let's let it go. Okay, this is an interesting question because I hadn't thought about it. You can choose your family. What about in vitro fertilization? Well, I do believe that we choose our parents, just as I think our parents choose us, because it's part of the lessons we need to learn. We pick our family very particularly. And just as I said earlier that I thought that my baby had to get to that particular family and I was the vehicle for her to get there, so it is with this sort of thing, the in vitro. The child has chosen to go to a particular place, and this is the vehicle to get there. Remember, the soul, I think the soul chooses the family and finds the way to get there. On the other hand, I don't believe in all this fertilization stuff that's going on and the fertility clinics. I'm not sure about here, but in the States, it's become an enormous business. Women spend fortunes trying to get pregnant when for some reason their body doesn't want to. And rather than working on the emotional challenges or the psychological challenges that may be stopping them, they spend a fortune. Some people mortgage their houses to try to get pregnant. And there's a lot of experimentation with how they do it. And I personally am just against it. I don't think it's a healthy thing to do. I think that when it's right to have the baby, your body will do it. And if not, there is a reason of some sort. And there's something else we need to do. Good question. Now, there's a little group over here that is responding. Okay. In one of your books, you say depression is a difficult illness to cure. Why do you say this? I don't think I have ever said that depression was a difficult illness to cure. First of all, it isn't. I don't think of it as an illness. Depression is anger turned inward. When we are depressed, it is because we feel we don't have a right to be angry. There's a situation that we feel hopeless about. Like, what good would it do to get angry because I couldn't do anything about it anyway? And therefore, we get depressed. Depression is hopelessness. Depression is not being willing to face, not being willing to talk to somebody about what's bothering you, not being willing to solve the situation. And again, the most powerful thing you can do is begin to love yourself. When you start loving yourself, you won't allow yourself to be in that state. Depression is a temporary thing unless we hold on to the old bitterness. What is the origin of allergies? Well, you know, we say that it isn't what you're allergic to as much as who you are allergic to. I think a great many allergies come from emotional difficulties. Releasing the past. See, no matter where you come from and how you go to it, it comes around to the same thing. Forgiving, releasing the past, loving who you are, and living in the present with gratitude and honor, self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. No matter where you go, no matter what the question is, no matter how you approach, whether it's a disease or a relationship or anything else, it comes back to the same core issue. Do I love myself? Am I willing to forgive the past? Am I willing to let go and live in present time, being grateful for all that is, loving life and loving me? That's the answer. I love you.